The purpose of learning is growth, and our minds, unlike our bodies, can continue growing as we continue to live. Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Seema Chhoriya, and I welcome you all to another insightful session on great principles. Joining me in conversation is my very devoted educator of the day, Mr. Amit Kumar Jain, Director, Oakridge International School, Visakhapatnam. Welcome to Great Principles, sir. We are very honored to have you with us.
Thank you, Seema. Thank you for having me on Great Principles.
So, sir, let us begin where it all started. Your journey is fantastic from engineer to kind of a scientist and all, and then marketing professional. And you have been working with one of the best enterprises, like Hall and Tata. So, it really amused me to know what made this shift for you that you are an educator today, leaving all those skyscraper enterprises. So, let us take us back. What motivated you to be an educator?
Yeah. So, Seema, I think first of all, there's a strong requirement I feel in the Indian context to be seen as an educator. Because many people, even today, when I speak to a lot of teachers, many of them feel that education is secondary. Being a teacher is just being a teacher because you can't do anything else. Especially, I come from, as you said, a sort of a corporate background. I have fortunately been to best of education institutes possible in India, and especially coming from a B school, top B school in India. Many probably I'm the only one who's into education today. All my classmates, all my colleagues in my MBA days, they are probably working with the corporates either in India or abroad. So I think the whole understanding of education as a sector in India, we need to change the perception. Because even today, if you see, many of the people think that you become a teacher because you have nothing else to do. You become an educator because there's nothing much better there to do than start teaching. But I think fortunately there's a lot of good change which is happening across the country and the mindset of people. As Indians, traditionally we have always considered gurus next to, indeed, guru before Brahma or guru before God, right? But somehow over the last few centuries, we have lost that tradition and touch. And particularly in my case, why I chose to be an educator, Seema, it is probably somewhere in the uh, earlier part of the last decade. There was a report which I remember reading, which was probably from Ernst and Young, if I remember it well, and it highlighted the fact that in India, 48% of the people do not get the jobs that they are looking for, which means either they are underemployed or they are wrongly employed. And there was a similar report during that time. And I think these are the days when there was a shift which was happening towards understanding of skills and development of skills in India. And maybe NSDC was formed up at that point in time. And I remember the chairman of TCS, the then chairman of TCS, Mr. Ahmad Rai, was heading NSDC. And during that days, it was surprising to see that students coming out of best of institutes in India are not employable in the market. The companies were not ready to employ them. And that made me thinking, what's wrong with our education system? Because India, as I said, was always looked up in the world, across the world, it was looked up as the great educator. And that's when I was trying to unpack this whole mystery, I understood that the problem is not with the colleges and universities only. It is not a problem of just the skills or the knowledge the children are gaining at a higher secondary or higher education institute level. The problem was much more deep rooted. And that's where I think the right way to address this would be at the K 12 education level. And I was fortunate that I found the right organization, the right set of people to work with, and I was able to, be a part of this wonderful organization called Oakridge International Schools. And I started my journey somewhere in 2015 with this organization.
Sir, with people like you, I'm sure the country will get its glory back of being the guru.
Sure, sure. I think so. That is something which is very close to my heart, Seema, that we should be able to make a difference in the lives of every child who comes to school, right? And because I feel that every child is great. They have the hidden talent and potential which is required. It is probably the school, the education which spoils them, and we need to provide that sort of environment for our children that they really cherish.
So school spoils them. There are so many which I read that schools kills the creativity and the kind of curriculum being designed. So much focus on just academic and marks. Yes, rightly said. So what is that you are doing differently so that the much needed change, so that the workforce which is entering the job market is much more employable. We no more work for the industry kind of setup, rather working for the informational economy which is coming in. So what is that you are doing differently, sir? I'd like to know from you.
Yes, Hima, I think, as I told earlier, if you go back, what are the basic skills that generally a corporate is looking for when we are talking about jobs right now, right? While our focus is not just on making our children job ready, our focus is making our children future ready. So whether it is they seeking a job, and as we know that probably more than half of the jobs don't even exist. His child who is getting into, say, a grade 1 or grade 2 today, by the time he gets into becoming an employable person, they may we don't even know that probably 50% of the jobs which are existing today will exist that time or not. Who knew that today something called as data scientist will be in hot demand 15 years back, right? So our focus right now is to create those skills which will make our children future ready. And if I go back again to the days that I was talking about, the skills that the companies were looking for in terms of employment were very basic. So what they were looking for is ethical children, children who have positive work ethics, or employees who have positive work ethics. They were looking for people who had, a desire to learn. They were looking for people who had good communication skills. They were looking for people who had good attitude. And these were not being taught in the schools, unfortunately. The schools were only, and probably the schools that I also went during my childhood, it was only knowledge that was focused on. The school was supposed to deliver knowledge to you. They were not focused on skill development. They were not focused on attitude development. And these were not, great things that were demanded by the economist at that point in time. The companies were not asking for, rocket scientists to say so. And so I think these were the few skills that I thought which can very easily be built in into our curriculums, into our education system. And the schools that we run at Oakridge, we have 5 schools in India, and most of our schools offer a national curriculum and also the international curriculums, whether it's the Cambridge curriculum, whether it's the IB curriculum. Now, one thing that we do differently, especially, is that we built in the skills that I spoke about into the curriculum. So we focus on developing the curriculum such that the skills like, responsibility, skills like innovativeness, skills like engagement with the society, developing children who have a sense of reflection and self awareness, children who are confident about themselves. These skills are inherently inbuilt into the curriculum. So one is, thanks to curriculums like IB and Cambridge, where the skills are focused and they are intertwined with the curriculum itself. But even for that matter, even in the national curriculum that we teach, the CBSE curriculum that we teach in our schools, these skills are focused in the pedagogy. And I think that's what makes a difference to our children. When a child passes out of Oakridge, he or she is sure that he has got or she has got the skills when she is outside the school. And the best part is that, as I said, they have a desire to learn. They continue to learn even if they are their education in schooling might have stopped, whether it is in private, in the universities that they go, or even beyond that, they continue to learn. So they are learners for life.
No, I think, sir, hearing you, I really feel that we need more people like you to step in this segment. And as you also said, unfortunately, not many are looking up to join education domain as a choice. They just do it because they don't have anything else. So, with people like you doing the good things, I'm sure at least a good future is there for my children, and this is what I am happy about. And I'm sure with this show of ours, we'll be able to inspire many of the youth out there to join this lovely profession and create a difference not only for the generation but entire for the nation. So moving ahead in our questions, so we were talking about the skills, the abilities of the children. So Swami Vivekananda also said that education is the manifestation of perfection. Each of us is born with unique traits that we have, and somewhere you also said that the education system, the kind of thing that we have, somewhere is killing that out. So tell me, sir, how can we learn the innate abilities of the children and nurture them to be at their best versions?
Yeah. So, Seema, I think I'm a big fan of Swami Vivekananda, and thank you for quoting that. Because, what I strongly believe, and as I mentioned in the opening, that it is the schools that are spoiling the children and killing their creativity. And I'm sure you might have heard of Sir Ken Robinson, who was always talking about that how schools kill creativity in the children. But then it's a responsibility today of every educator, every school, every system, that we treat every child as an individual. These are not they are not We are not manufacturing children's learner children for the future, which unfortunately was the way of looking at schooling. Maybe at the time of the industrial revolution, that was fine, but today we are not living in an industrial revolution. We are living in an information revolution world. And I think so. What is important for us to understand that every child is unique. Every child has their own abilities. Not everybody is good at mathematics. Not everybody is good at languages. Not everybody is good at sciences. But then there is a Tendulkar who's there sitting in your class. There is probably a child who's aspiring to be Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam who's sitting in your class. And there is also probably a Shankar Mahadevan who is sitting among the children. So this is what we need to understand, and that is what probably we are trying to do at our schools today at Oakridge. Is we feel it's our responsibility to just provide opportunities for our children. We have to provide as many platforms, as many opportunities as possible to our children, and encourage and motivate our children to explore them. I come across many students, and many parents rather, when I interact with them, they say, okay, my child loves to play cricket. He wants to become a cricketer. Okay. And these are the parents of, children who are probably 7 years, 8 years old. So I ask them one question. Has your child ever played tennis? Has your child ever played basketball? Has your child ever played cricket, soccer? They say no, but he loves cricket. I said, then how do you know that he does not love soccer or he does not love basketball? Let him try, let him explore. And once a child, has an experience of a particular subject, a particular area, a particular, stream of arts, he or she will decide what she likes or she does not like. But today, many of the parents are actually the ones who want to live their life through their children. I don't know the numerous occasions where I hear from the parents that I wanted to do this. I wanted to learn how to play guitar. So I want my child to learn how to play guitar. I think we are wrong, and we are absolutely wrong. You might wanted to learn how to play guitar, but maybe your child loves to play piano.
Yeah.
And it's our responsibility to educate these parents to understand that the child is unique. And similarly with the teachers, they say that okay, this child can never do being good in mathematics, or this child is the laggard in the class, and etc. But I think which is a completely wrong notion of looking at children, because every child, it's our responsibility as educators to see that every child do he or she is able to do the best she can or he can, whether it is in academics, whether it is in their personal goals, whether it is with respect to their non-academic areas, whether it is in the social areas. So I think that's what I feel is very important, that every child is nurtured to achieve the best he or she can do.
Absolutely, sir. Very well said. To all my dear parents, please don't shift the burden of your unfulfilled dreams on your children. They are unique, as sir mentioned, so respect their individuality and celebrate it. And I think, sir, you rightly said that every child is going to bloom. Some will bloom later, some will bloom, earlier, but they are going to bloom. And if provided we are giving them the right kind of nourishment. And I really love the point where you mentioned that, did you let your child experience the different varieties of sports? The example you quoted of my child love cricket, but did you give him an opportunity to just have a taste of the other sports also? So I think this is very much required. We don't let our children have an opportunity to have different, to experience the different kind of things that they can do. So this is very much required, and many schools are already taking that steps by having multiple kind of extracurricular activities and sports facilities at their schools. So hopefully, things are changing, and I'm sure, with NEP stepping in and a lot of things happening from government and also and educators trying their best, a big changes on the way. So let's keep the optimism going on, and moving ahead to our next question. So there are so much pep talks and so much of motivation and so much of recognition which we all need at some point of time to just keep us going. So tell me, sir, has any award or recognition been a source for your motivation to do more and better at what you're doing?
Yes, Seema, I think everybody loves rewards and recognition and motivation. And I think as an educator, the biggest reward that we get is when you see the child who's really able to fulfill his or her desire. Recently we had one of our students who bagged a seat in Stanford University. And I think I was having a discussion with this child about 6 months back, and I was trying to motivate her in terms of that she should apply to these universities, because many people give up even before applying. They say, okay, maybe I'm not made for Stanford and Harvard is too difficult for me. But then I think we were having these conversations, and I encouraged the child to apply for this university. I said, you should try for the best, and I'm very glad that today she has backed a seat in that prestigious university. And I think that is the biggest motivation or reward that probably an educator can get, when you see that your children are flourishing to their best. Apart from that, I think I'm very honored and humble that many of the organizations have been recognizing the good work that we are doing. Our schools have featured in the likes of Forbes in India, or we get education awards across from various places. But personally, I think the award for national leadership in education that I have received, I think about 4 years back, is something that kept me motivating, and I felt that yes, I think I'm heading in the right direction and I should continue to do that.
Great. So I think very honest answer was there that yes, we all want that, at some time of time, we all love to be recognized and awarded. And this is what keeps us going. So now moving ahead to my very favorite, segment of the show, which is called rapid fire round. So you have to answer in one word and or a sentence would do, if the requirement of the question is for a sentence. So sir, here we'll
Okay.
be just bringing out some fun facts about you and your life. So let us begin by knowing what you do when you're not working.
Okay, what I do when I'm not working. So I'm a completely outdoors person, Seema. So I love being in the out. I would like to go for a trek, or I would probably be cycling. And if nothing else, I just want to go out and take a stroll in the open. And if I think the last 2 years have been very unkind on all of us, that we have not been having an opportunity to go out. But I think I would love to go out, trek, camp somewhere, be in the jungles, be on the mountains. So that's what I would like to do. And when I'm not probably teaching or in the school,
All
I
right.
know it's not
Moving
one
ahead.
word or one sentence. I'm sorry about that.
No worries. I'll give you that one. So, moving ahead to my next question. What is that one incident which always brings a smile on your face?
Okay, so one incident, very difficult. There are so many of them because when you are in this school, you have, I think, every day. Indeed, I would say it like this: like, you know, many people think that being a teacher, being an educator, running a school is very easy. But I think you only realize that when you actually step into these shoes. And it's a very tiring job, sometimes thankless, sometimes never ending. But I think whenever you have a sort of a drain in your energy, what I do is I just love to walk in into an early years or a primary classroom, and then seeing the smiles on the children, seeing their honest love, just fills you back with energy and brings the smile back on your face. So I think that is something which I really do. It will be difficult to say one particular incident, but I think every day, any day that I can walk into an early year classroom, talk to a young child, and I think that brings a smile back on my face.
I cannot agree less on this, because when after a long day I return home and that little hug from my son, it just, rejuvenates me completely and all my tiredness is gone. So I really long for that, that as soon as I step in, he'll jump on me. So completely agree with you, sir. So moving ahead to my next question. Suppose we are fortunate enough and we find the Aladdin ka chirag and you were granted three wish, what would be those?
Oh, wow. Okay, so I think the first wish I would ask the genie would be to see that, again, being an educator, I would want that the world lives in a very peaceful place, world becomes a very peaceful
Yeah.
place, and that can only happen if the generation which is coming up understands their responsibilities, and they know they know what is right and what is wrong. So I think that will be the first wish, that make every child today understand what is right and what is wrong. I think, and I think that one wish probably should be sufficient to make everybody's life much better on the earth. And probably we don't even need the second and the third wish. Maybe I can give it back to the genie.
Wonderful. Very cleverly chosen wish, the one wish which can just fulfill all the other desires. So that truly requires a lot of thought. And you were so spontaneous about it. So I think wonderful answer. So moving ahead to the next question, tell us two things that you like about Visakhapatnam, the place where your school is located.
Okay. So I'm not sure, Seema, have you ever visited Visakhapatnam? But this is a beautiful city. This is a beautiful city, and probably I have not visited this place before I joined this particular organization here. But when I came in here, I was literally in love with the place. Two things which I really love about this place is one, that it has everything that you can imagine, and especially as I told, I'm an outdoors person. So whether you want to be on the beaches or you want to take a trek up the mountains, it's available. Like, you have a lovely, beautiful landscape out here. That's one. And second thing is that which I like very much about Vishakhapatnam is the warmth of the people. People are really warm and welcoming. They are always ready to help. Whatever it is, they are always ready to help. They're always ready to welcome, and the cleanliness that they keep. So, city, as you know, Vishakhapatnam is one of the top 10 cleanest cities in the
Yeah.
country. So they really take care of. They are always there to help the society, the community, the environment. I think this is something which I like about the city.
All right. Coming up to the last question in this segment. Yes, I know that you chose to be an educator, but still, suppose you were given a chance to be something else, what you would have been.
Okay, what? Maybe a student.
So, you want to be a learner again?
Yes, I would love to be a student, and why not? Learning never stops.
Absolutely. Okay, one more question in this segment only. Do you think our teachers are not paid well? Yes or no?
Yes, I think they are not paid well, not paid enough.
All right. So, this brings to me to the last question of the show. This is called the viewer's choice question. So my viewer says that that we shouldn't limit ourselves to educate a certain part of the society and region, and aim for the development and progress of the nation on a global level. So we have to ensure that all the guns are blazing and every child is learning well. So we would like to know about what is your idea on school without borders. One pattern, one curriculum. We all are talking about global economy, interconnected world. So please throw some light on this, enlighten us.
Okay. So, Seema, I think while there's a slight contradiction in terms of looking at one curriculum and sort of one pattern which fits in uh, every need of the learner today, but what I definitely believe is school without borders. Just to give an example, the schools that we have, we are a part of Nord Anglia Education, and we have about 76 schools on the last count, located in 31 different countries. Right. So this is, and it's not just that you're present in 31 different countries. It's also important that how you connect these, you know, about 70,000 different students across the world into one large family of students. Um, so we have this beautiful platform called Global Campus, which helps our students to be connected with each other. And this is where, well, many of the schools are trying to teach the international schools. They are trying to teach an international curriculum. In especially in IB, we talk about something called as international mindedness. But then, how do we implement it on the core, on the ground? It's not that you start reading about the sort of animals that you find in different countries or their culture or their food. It's not about that. It's about ensuring that you understand that culture. So I'll give you a very beautiful example out here, Seema. So recently we know that there was a coup in Myanmar, and the military took over the government over there, and all the schools were shut. And indeed, I think this was even before the COVID stuck, etc. And the schools were just closed because of the military action. And we have a school in Myanmar as well. And it was so saddening to see that the students were not able to go back to classes. They had to do online classes, virtual schooling, and there was a lot of sense of fear which was there among the families out there. What's going to happen to them? And during that time, when we brought up this point and it was being discussed in one of the classrooms, the students said, "What can we do for them?" So we did two things. One, we connected with them virtually so that our students were able to interact with them. And after this, the students actually sent out beautiful messages through greeting cards and digital cards and some small bites, video bites. They sent beautiful wishes to the students on the other side of the country. And it did not stop there. When last year India was struck by a terrible second wave of COVID pandemic, probably the deadliest that we have seen among all the waves in India, these students from Myanmar, they created some beautiful videos and greeting cards, and they shared it back with our students out here, telling that I hope that you will be able to come up out of this, and we are together on this. So this is the sort of interaction that I'm talking about in terms of borderless schools across the world, where children respect and understand other cultures, other community. They are able to really feel that yes, there are different perspectives, there are different people across the globe, and we should respect that. And I think this is something which is terribly lacking in the education system today, because we put children into silos, whether it is silos of subjects, whether it is silos of culture. Uh, but I think this concept of having truly international borderless schools is something which I really aspire that every school is able to do. And I'm sure the new education policy has certain elements of this, where it talks about creating, a community of schools together in a particular region and talking to each other, sharing the resources. So I'm sure if this is extended beyond the community and it is widened up across the global network, I think there cannot be a beautiful world in that. Similarly, another example is, we all aspire to be in MIT, right? It's a dream of every child to study in MIT, but that's not possible, right? So, for example, our group of schools have a unique partnership with MIT where they get to hear from the students, from the professors, uh, about the latest happenings in the world of science and technology. So we run a complete STEAM program, that is science, technology, maths, arts, and mathematics program with MIT, which is in collaboration with MIT. And the students are able to connect directly with the faculty of MIT. They are able to
Yeah.
understand what is the latest research they are doing and how it can be helpful for their future. And they also get to do certain experiments, understand certain concepts with very simple videos which are created by the students of MIT themselves. Especially, this was very, very helpful during the lockdown when the children were not able to come back to the schools. They were all virtual. So we created something called as MIT STEAM Home Labs, where their homes were converted into labs with whatever is available at home. And our homes are treasure trove of experimentation if we can actually do that. And I remember one experiment very distinctly, which we did and which is one of my favorites, is how do you measure the wavelength and frequency of light using your microwave oven and chocolate bars. So, and I think it was so beautifully done that it's just impossible to make a say 10-year-old child understand what is the speed of light, what is the wavelength of light, what is the frequency of light. But then when they do this experiment with simple things like a microwave oven is probably available in every house, chocolate bars are almost there with every child. Use this tool and try to find out what is the the speed of light and frequency and wavelength of light. So this sort of experiments truly connect them with the best minds in the world, and they just shatter the borders that we have, right? So
Right.
I think this is something that I really wish, and it is not just about science, technology, and knowledge. It is also about the skills, as I told. We also have a very unique collaboration with UNICEF, where our students they also get to visit the UNICEF headquarters in New York once in a year, and their voice is directly heard at an international fora. They are able to design the solutions to the present day problems that the world is facing. So I think this for me truly is like borderless schools.
Absolutely. Today you changed my whole perspective about what an international school is, because every now and then, every lane has one international school. So it's not about just adding the name international. There is so much more to do. And this kind of education that is what we are looking for. When we have this global perspective for our children, when they adapt easily with other nationality, other culture, that is when, we can think of having something called global economy, where every country is blooming and helping out each other, collaboratively working. So what a beautiful future that would be. So with schools like yours, I'm hoping that this all might be, just be taken, this learning might be taken by other educators too, and we see this kind of learning happening. So, Amit sir, today, you taught me that without education, we all are like, a bird without wings. This is a very beautiful Tibetan proverb. And with your kind of thoughts, I think we need to also ensure that if we don't have wings, education can lend us those wings. And we need to ensure that our children are getting it in the right way. So, sir, thank you so much for your time and sharing your thoughts and vision. I completely enjoyed this conversation. And I'm sure my viewers are going to gain a lot today.
Thank you so much, Seema. And again, thank you so much for having me on the Great Principles platform. I really cherish the conversation.